Yo, what's going on, y'all? It's Cone back here again today with another video, and today I want to talk for a little bit about some Oklahoma City Thunder basketball. And I know I've made a lot of videos about the Thunder this year, but it's my favorite team, so of course I'm going to talk about them, and also it's my channel, so let me cook. Last night they got their 20th win of the season against the Utah Jazz, a really hard-fought game that was a lot of fun. The Jazz are ridiculous right now, and they moved to 28-13 at the halfway point of the season, on pace for 55 wins, currently sitting at the second seed in the Western Conference. They've completely jumped the stage where they look kind of like contenders to a team that feels like they've got a chance to compete with anybody on any given night, especially heading into the Western Conference playoffs. It's been really exciting as a Thunder fan, and there have been a number of reasons for our success. If you asked most casual fans, they would probably tell you a lot of it is because of Shai, and they'd be right. He's been an MVP caliber player this season, for sure going to be all NBA first team again, going to be an all-star starter most likely, putting up 30 points per game, playing high-level defense, ridiculously clutch, unstoppable score. Shai is unbelievable. It makes sense that most people would bring him up first. Then probably the second name you would hear is Chet Holmgren, who has been a depoy level guy as a rookie, elevated this defense substantially, catching lobs, knocking down threes, creating shots off the dribble for himself in the mid-range. He's been a force for us in all areas of the game and has truly elevated this team beyond what I even was expecting as a diehard Thunder fan. But one guy whose name you won't hear as much that deserves to be mentioned alongside those guys as a critical reason why the Thunder are as good as they are is Jalen Williams, aka J-Dub, Dub, whatever you want to call him. Those are all nicknames that he uses. I'll probably refer to him a lot in this video as J-Dub or Dub, so if you hear those terms, that's who I'm talking about. He's been ridiculous this season, and I don't think enough people realize that he is one of the brightest rising stars in the league. He's going to be an all-star sooner than later. I think he has all-NBA potential sooner than later. There's even a chance he ends up as a superstar. That's how much I believe in what J-Dub has done so far this season. So let's talk about how good he's been, because I don't think enough people realize how good he's been. The Thunder were able to pick up Jalen Williams with the 12th overall pick in the 2022 draft, a spot where we almost weren't able to get him. We had that pick because of the Paul George trade. The Clippers ended up missing the playoffs that year, but there were a number of teams that wanted to get him even higher. We had to trade up to jump some of those teams to make sure we land J-Dub, and that always wasn't the case. He rose up draft boards rapidly throughout the process. When it began, he was kind of an end of the first round pick. Then around the combine time, he was the middle of the first round, and by the time the draft rolled around, again, we had to trade up to make sure that we landed him as a lottery guy, and he was incredible in his rookie season. It became very clear from the get-go why so many teams wanted him on their squad. As a rookie, he averaged 14.1 points per game, 4.5 rebounds, and 3.3 dimes, to go with 1.4 steals, while shooting 52.1% from the field and 35.6% from deep, as well as 81% from the line. He was one of the top rookie scorers, incredibly efficient, positionally versatile. He started at power forward as a rookie, as a 6'6 rookie at that, and was amazing, highly efficient in that role, very versatile defensively as well, guarding pretty much anybody 1 through 4, sometimes even 5s. He shattered all expectations in year 1. He was amazing, felt like a future all-star, and I was expecting big things from him coming into year 2. Now, I wasn't going to be surprised if his production didn't jump a ton because we had so many breakout candidates on the roster. You know, Shai could take another jump. We would have to wait and see what Chet Holmgren would bring to the table as part of this team. Guys like a Josh Giddey could potentially take a statistical jump as well, so I figured he was going to be even better and continue on this all-star trajectory. But if his numbers didn't jump a ton, like if it didn't show in the stat sheet a ton, I wasn't going to be very surprised. But he has found a way to even exceed my wildest expectations. He has been unbelievable so far this season. Last night was a great example of it against Utah, where he put up 27 points, 3 rebounds, 8 assists, 2 steals, and 2 blocks on 11 of 14 shooting. He absolutely cooked Utah. It didn't matter who was in front of him, how many defenders they threw at him, what kind of coverage they had, zone or man. J-Dub was cooking everybody and anybody who stood in his way. And this was his 3rd straight game of 25 or more points, 6 or more dimes, and 3 or more rebounds on 55% shooting or better. He's been an absolute machine. He's playing like an all-star right now. On the season as a whole, he's putting up 18.6 points per game, 4.1 boards, and 4.4 dimes, to go with 1 steal while shooting 54.8% from the field and 45% from deep. That's ridiculous. To put up 19 points per game on that type of efficiency as one of our primary creators on a second-seeded team in your second season, that very rarely happens, especially because most of the minutes he's playing are still at power forward. He's still been our starting power forward this season as a 6'6 guy. He is unbelievable. He is the 8th highest true shooting percentage in the entire league this season amongst all players averaging at least 18 points per game. He's been more efficient than guys like Kevin Durant, Tyrese Halliburton, Karl Anthony Towns, Kawhi Leonard, Steph Curry, Anthony Davis, Zion Williamson, LeBron James, Luka Doncic. He's more efficient than all of these all-star caliber guys, and the guys ahead of him are some of the best players in the world. He's truly amongst elite company in his second season in terms of efficiency, and he's destroying teams from everywhere on the court. It doesn't matter if you send one defender at him, two defenders, man zone, he's going to beat literally everything. And his primary area of attack is the mid-range. Much like Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, he's an assassin once he gets between the arc and the paint. If you take a look at his B-ball index page, every statistic points to him being one of the best mid-range shooters in the entire NBA. You take a look at the mid-range pull-up shot quality and overall shot quality, they're not very good. He's in the 28th percentile in overall shot quality in the mid-range and 45th.6 percentile in shot quality in pull-ups. It doesn't matter because everything else is an 80 or above. He is knocking down mid-range jumpers ridiculously while being one of the most heavily contested guys in the entire league. Teams know he wants to get to that spot. He still gets there and he still knocks it down over outstretched arms. It doesn't make any sense, but he really doesn't as a player. And part of the thing that makes him so difficult to guard in this area is his ability to go left or right. You never know which direction he wants to go because he's very comfortable attacking either way, fading either direction, shooting a little like push floater with either hand, going in either direction, finishing around the basket with either hand. He is an ambidextrous guard. Like, there is not one way you can force him, not one spot you can try and push him to, where he's not going to destroy you in some way or another. A lot of that also comes from him being a knockdown three-point shooter. Doesn't shoot a lot of threes, averaging around 3.1 attempts per game, but when he takes them, he's almost always going to knock them down, and he can knock them down as a pull-up, as a catch-and-shoot shot, a step back. You have to pay a lot of attention to that shot. He demands a lot of attention, and that allows him to use his way underrated handle to get by defenders because they're playing up on him because they don't want him to shoot that three, but then he can just pull up on a dime and shoot the mid-range. He can attack the basket, dunk on people if he wants. There's really no true way to defend Jalen Williams effectively, and that goes alongside with the fact that he's an underrated playmaker as well over this recent stretch of games where, like I said, he's been putting up 6 or more assists over his last 3. He continues to elevate himself as a playmaker. Some of the passes that I see from him, he's really good at drawing in the defense and kicking out the shooters. He's been fantastic at lob passes this season, easily our best lob thrower right now, developing a lot of chemistry with Chet Holmgren. He's got a great eye for shovel passes down low if he gets the big man to jump. Great eye for cutters as well. The assist numbers aren't going to back up how good he's been for us this season as a playmaker, especially as of late. We continue to trust him with the ball in his hands a lot more, especially in fourth quarters, which we'll talk about in a moment, and he consistently produces. He's also a great perimeter defender, amazing at using his length to go ahead and disrupt guys, to poke the ball away, because he has one of the longest wingspans I feel like I've ever seen, especially for a guy of his height. He is an all-around player. He's the second leading scorer, highly efficient on a 2-seeded team. He's been unbelievably critical to our success. As good as Shai and Chet are, we don't win nearly as many games if we don't have J-Dub. And those fourth quarters I referenced earlier are a great example. At the start of those periods, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is on the bench. He will play the entire first and third quarter and then play half of the second and the fourth. So at the beginning of the fourth quarter, when it's coming down to crunch time, somebody's got to produce. And way more often than not, that guy is Jalen Williams. This season, he's averaging 7 points per game in fourth quarters, which is the 14th best mark in the NBA. And he shoots 61.5% from the field and 58.8% from deep in those fourth quarter minutes. Nobody in the top 90 players in terms of fourth quarter scoring are better than he is from the field in fourth quarters. That's ridiculous. I had to go all the way down to Mamadi Diakite, shout to the UVA legend, who has hardly played this season, to find somebody with a higher field goal percentage in fourth quarters than Jalen Williams. He has been unbelievable, both as a scorer, as a ball handler, also as a playmaker. He sets up our entire offense in those situations. We trust him to carry the offensive load when Shai sits at the beginning of those fourth quarters, and more often than not, we build up the lead rather than losing it with one of our best players on the bench, which speaks to his value. And he's been even more unstoppable than usual since the calendar flipped to 2024. Last night against Utah in the fourth quarter, he had 11 points, 3 assists, a steal, and a block on perfect shooting. And in the month of January, over the last 10 games that he's played, he has been putting up 9.5 points per game, 1.4 boards, and 1.4 assists in the fourth quarter, while shooting 69% from the field, 72.7% from deep, 78.6% from the free throw line in fourth quarters. He is the king of the fourth quarter this season for us. He has stepped up tremendously. Again, we've got an MVP caliber player on the bench, and we're still producing, we're still building leads, we're maintaining them because he's been so good. He just continues to get better and better as the season goes on. As good as he's been in the fourth quarter in January, the rest of the quarters have been amazing too. In January, through his 10 games played, he's putting up 21.1 points per game, 4.7 boards, and 6.1 dimes to go with 1.5 steals while shooting 66% from the field and 63% from deep with a 73.3 true shooting percentage. That's not just in fourth quarters, that's in every game in the month of January. That's how good he's been. Those are all-star numbers. He's the only non-center with at least 4 games of 70% shooting or better in the new year, and last night was his 5th game. I mean, just take a look at some of these games. 27-3, 8-2-2 on 11-14 shooting against the Jazz, 25-3-7 on 10-14 shooting against the Clippers, 25-3, 6-3 on 10-18 shooting against the Lakers. He's been completely lights out. 9 of 10 shooting for 21 points against the Blazers, 9 of 13 for 21 against the Wizards, 8 of 11 for 20 points against the Nets, 9 of 12 for 21 points against the Atlanta Hawks. He's putting the entire league on notice when we need it most. The Thunder are currently going through a really tough stretch of their schedule where they play a lot of back-to-backs, some really good teams, some 5 games in 7 nights type situations. It's brutal. Like, the Thunder need this. Some guys are struggling right now. You know, Shai's been dealing with a little bit of a knee injury. Chet's hitting a small rookie wall at the moment. We need guys to step up, and Dub has been that guy to do so. It changes everything for the Thunder, truly. Like, when you think about all the past champions, you probably need like 3 all-star caliber players to win in this league. It's rare that you don't win with having that type of talent on your roster. Shai's clearly that guy. He's been an all-NBA player. He's an MVP caliber guy. Chet Holmgren, when we drafted him at 2nd overall, felt like he was going to become that player, but it was a question of who was going to be that 3rd star. Was it going to be a guy like Josh Giddey? Was it going to be someone that we traded for? It's Jalen Williams. Dub is that 3rd player for us. He's going to be that 3rd all-star caliber guy. He's doing stuff like this in his 2nd season, most often playing power forward as an undersized guy. He is unbelievable. I had really high expectations for him, again, coming into the season, going into his 1st season. The second we drafted him, I was like, this guy could be a future all-star, but now I truly believe he's going to be all-NBA before long. Even if he's not making teams, he's going to be that caliber of player. There's really no weaknesses in what he does, and he just deserves more love for this team, as great as Shai and Chet are, and all of the supporting players are. Mark Daigneault is coaching. I feel like Jalen Williams deserves a lot more love from most NBA fans. I already know when we get to the playoffs, he's going to step up on the biggest stage. He's shown time and time again that when we need him most, he's going to produce. And I think once we start winning those playoff games, making deep playoff runs, people are going to slowly realize across the NBA world, fans that haven't watched the Thunder that much, how good he really is, how special of a player he is. It's just a matter of time. But for right now, I'm going to go ahead and make this YouTube video, so hopefully some of you out there are able to realize. I'm sure a lot of you have. I know a lot of you are Thunder fans, pay attention to Thunder content because of me, and that's great because he deserves more love for what he's done for this team. This team as a whole deserves more recognition, and I'm really excited to see what the future holds for Jalen Williams because his ceiling is way higher than I think anybody realizes. But yeah, with all that being said, I appreciate you all watching. Leave a like and subscribe if you enjoyed. Hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on future videos. How good do you think Jalen Williams can be? Do you think he's going to reach an all-star ceiling? Do you think he could be all-NBA, a superstar, or maybe even higher? Maybe some of you out there think he could be an MVP someday. Would love to know your opinions. Yeah, let me know how good you think the Thunder are going to be the rest of the season. Like I said, it's at the halfway point. Currently, they're on pace for 55 wins. Do you think they reach that mark? Do you think they drop a little bit? And how far do you think they can go in the playoffs? I appreciate y'all watching. I'll see y'all later. Real one, say it back.